Hi guys, Matt Easton here. So I was just in the process of uploading and editing some videos from Fight Camp 2014, and it's taken me a long time to get around to doing this because, to be honest, editing them is a real pain in the butt, and there's a lot, there's hours of video footage. So I'm only doing selected fights from the last kind of rounds of the tournaments, and I'm taking my time about it. However, in uploading them and making a couple of them live and starting to see some comments come in, I start to see the same comments that you usually see to HEMA tournament videos. And one of the kind of comments that come in is that people don't really understand what they're watching. It's fair enough. Often the people who are there actually sort of in the audience, or sometimes even judging, unfortunately, don't know what they're looking at. It is really difficult to judge and to see what's going on from one angle in HEMA competitions, especially when you've got multiple weapons involved. If there's sword and buckler or rapier and dagger, if it's a single sword versus single sword, so sabre versus sabre or longsword versus longsword, tends to be easier to see what's going on. But when you've got paired weapons, it becomes more complicated to see, and when you've got mismatched weapons, for example sword and buckler versus longsword, it's generally difficult to see because your brain kind of tunes into one thing more or less than the other. Also, one of the things that people often say is that, particularly with the longsword stuff, I would say, is that what they see done in tournaments doesn't look very much like what they see in the treatises. Well, I'm going to address that point in a future video because it's quite a big topic by itself. And in contrast to that, people do note that generally speaking things like rapier or sabre tend to look more like what you see in the treatises. I will approach that whole topic. I don't have all the answers to that. If I did, the world would probably be a simpler place because we'd all understand the answers to it. But I will leave that for a future big video. But really the point I did want to address is that people sometimes pick up, and I find it horrible to see on video and in real life and to take part in, when you get a lot of doubles or afterblows in a tournament. Everyone understands, I think, what a double hit is. It's where two people hit each other at the same time. An afterblow is where one person hits very slightly before the other person hits, usually in one fencing tempo, or sometimes in one step, one foot movement. So either the people go jab and kill each other, or hit and kill each other, or jab hit and kill each other, that's a double, or they go thrust cut, or thrust thrust and cut cut. And if there's a noticeable sort of time lag between those two things, that tends to be classed as an afterblow. Now, the way these things are scored in different tournaments is different. In tournaments that I've run in the past, we've tended to score no points for doubles, no points for afterblows, but doubles are sometimes punished. That is, punished sometimes by physical punishment, like push-ups or sit-ups or something a bit silly like that, or they're actually punished by being notched up, and if you get a certain number of doubles in a fight, then you're out of the competition, or maybe out of a certain round or whatever. But the thing that I have noticed in looking at old videos is that if you want to see what a clean HEMA or historical fencing fight looks like, don't necessarily look at tournaments where you've got two evenly matched fighters, and this is really the point of this video. A lot of what you see in treatises, and obviously what works really well in a real fight, is where you have one really experienced person and one quite inexperienced person. So quite fundamentally, if you can find videoed fights, and there are examples online, I won't be cruel and necessarily point them out, but if you can find examples of fights which have been recorded where you've got one really good person and one kind of not very good person or kind of average person, then you will start to see much cleaner techniques and much cleaner fights in general. And anybody out there who's practicing historical fencing will know that you get to execute, generally speaking, you get to execute the nicest technique and the cleanest techniques and the biggest variety of techniques and the most complex techniques when you're sparring against someone who's a bit of a noob, basically. Okay, so there we go. If you get one really good person versus another really good person, unfortunately it does result a lot of the time in lots of doubles and lots of afterblows. And that was probably how it was back in the day in real fights as well. So, something to think about. Cheers!